What if the most beautiful mansions in Hollywood were never truly abandoned? Only forgotten by the people who once worshipped them. Behind locked gates and collapsing walls lie the final echoes of legends like Elvis, Michael Jackson, and Whitney Houston, dreams built with fame then destroyed by loneliness, scandal, and heartbreak. Some homes hold memories. These mansions hold ghosts. Number 1. Nicolas Cage, The House That Refused to Forget. Some mansions are abandoned because of money, others because of scandal. But the LaLaurie Mansion in New Orleans was feared for something far older, something buried deep within its walls long before Nicolas Cage ever arrived. When Cage purchased the historic estate, many believed the Oscar-winning actor was simply indulging his fascination with the strange and theatrical. But what he stepped into was not just a luxury property, it was one of America's most infamous houses of horror. Built in the early 1800s, the mansion once belonged to Madame Delphine LaLaurie, a socialite whose dark crimes shocked the nation. Behind the elegant balconies and candlelit rooms, enslaved people were allegedly tortured in unimaginable ways. Even after her disappearance, locals claimed the suffering never left. For generations, whispers of screams, footsteps, and shadowy figures turned the mansion into a permanent legend of fear. Nicolas Cage tried to restore the property, pouring millions into renovations, hoping perhaps to transform its cursed reputation into something beautiful again. But no amount of wealth could silence the past. Visitors reported doors creaking open by themselves, lights flickering in empty rooms, and a heavy feeling that seemed to follow them through the halls. The mansion became less of a home and more of a warning proof that history does not disappear simply because the world wants to move on. Number 2. Whitney Houston, The Mansion Left Behind by a Broken Voice. There was a time when Whitney Houston's New Jersey mansion radiated pure joy. Behind its towering gates lived one of the greatest voices the world had ever heard, a woman whose music could fill arenas, move nations, and heal broken hearts. The estate itself felt like a private paradise, a grand indoor swimming pool glowing beneath soft lights, a personal recording studio where melodies once echoed into the night, and luxurious rooms built for a superstar who seemed larger than life. To the outside world, it looked like success perfected. But fame has a cruel way of hiding pain behind beautiful walls. As Whitney's personal struggles deepened, the mansion slowly transformed from a sanctuary into a silent witness to heartbreak. The laughter faded, the music became less frequent, and when Whitney Houston tragically died in 2012, the house itself seemed to change overnight. Suddenly, it was no longer just a celebrity home, it became a symbol of loss, tied forever to one of the most devastating endings in music history. Potential buyers walked through the estate and admired its luxury, yet many quietly backed away. Some said the mansion carried too much sadness. Others believed the emotional weight of Whitney's story lingered in every empty hallway and darkened room. Even after renovations and price changes, the property struggled to escape the shadow of her legacy. Today, the mansion stands as something far more powerful than real estate. Number 3. Elvis Presley, Graceland's Forbidden Attic. They called Graceland a palace of dreams, but behind its golden gates, something far darker was quietly unfolding. Long before the world turned Elvis Presley into a myth, this mansion was the one place where he tried to escape the noise of fame. Inside its lavish walls were jungle-themed rooms, secret hallways, late-night laughter, and a lonely superstar desperately searching for peace. But on August 16, 1977, the music stopped forever. Elvis was found lifeless inside his private bathroom, and overnight, Graceland transformed from a symbol of glory into a monument of heartbreak. Then came the mystery no one could explain. For nearly 50 years, the mansion's attic remained sealed shut. Even close friends, employees, and powerful public figures were denied access. Rumors spread across America, hidden tapes, private confessions, evidence of Elvis's final days. And when the attic was finally opened decades later, what investigators discovered was not treasure, but tragedy frozen in time. A worn childhood teddy bear stitched together by his mother. Unopened fan letters begging him to slow down before it was too late. Boxes filled with fragments of a man the world never truly understood. Graceland still stands today, beautiful yet unsettling, as if Elvis never completely left. Because sometimes the most haunted places are not filled with ghosts, but with memories too painful to disappear. Number 4. Michael Jackson, The Fall of Neverland Ranch. There was a time when Neverland Ranch looked less like a home and more like a dream the world wished it could live inside. Hidden among the rolling hills of California, Michael Jackson built a kingdom where childhood never had to end. A private amusement park, a miniature train winding through magical gardens, exotic animals roaming beneath the sun. Every corner of Neverland felt like an escape from reality, a fantasy created by the most famous man on Earth, desperately trying to protect the innocence he believed the world had stolen from him. But dreams built to outrun pain rarely survive forever. After Michael Jackson's death in 2009, the music faded, the ride stopped spinning, and Neverland became hauntingly silent. Rust crept across the abandoned train tracks. Empty animal cages stood like ghostly reminders of a vanished paradise. The laughter that once echoed through the estate was replaced by wind moving through overgrown weeds and forgotten memories. What was once worth nearly $100 million slowly became a burden nobody wanted to touch, even after the price collapsed. And maybe that's because people weren't just buying a mansion. They were inheriting the weight of Michael Jackson himself, the genius, the loneliness, the controversy, and the tragedy. Neverland still stands today like a beautiful scar on Hollywood's landscape. A place caught between fantasy and heartbreak, where the ghost of lost innocence still refuses to let go. If this mansion was free, would you move in? Or immediately call a priest? Number 5. 50 Cent, The Mansion That Became a Trap. At the height of his empire, 50 Cent didn't just buy a mansion, he bought a symbol of victory. Hidden deep in Connecticut stood a colossal estate with 21 bedrooms, 25 bathrooms, a private nightclub, a casino, and hallways so massive they felt more like a luxury hotel than a home. To the world, it looked like proof that Curtis Jackson had conquered everything. Poverty, violence, failure. The American dream wrapped in marble floors and chandeliers. But behind the gates of this giant palace, another story was unfolding. The mansion was simply too big, too expensive, too impossible to sustain. Heating bills alone reportedly cost more than what many families earn in months. Entire rooms sat untouched in eerie silence, like monuments to excess rather than success. What once felt powerful slowly became isolating. The bigger the house grew, the emptier it seemed. For years, 50 Cent desperately tried to escape it. The asking price collapsed again and again, from nearly $19 million to barely a fraction of that. Buyers walked away. Some were intimidated by the sheer scale. Others saw something deeper, a mansion that represented the dangerous illusion of fame itself. Because sometimes success convinces people they must keep building bigger versions of themselves, even while quietly falling apart inside. When the estate finally sold at a devastating loss, it marked more than a real estate failure. Number 6. David Letterman, the ranch that chose silence. Far away from the flashing lights of television studios, David Letterman created a hidden world deep in the Montana wilderness. His enormous ranch stretched across more than 100 acres of untouched land, surrounded by towering forests, quiet lakes, and endless skies. There were private guest cabins hidden among the trees, a giant treehouse rumored to be his personal escape, and a peaceful stillness that felt almost sacred. For a man who spent decades entertaining millions, this ranch became the one place where silence mattered more than applause. But over the years, something strange happened. The property remained beautiful, yet strangely unwanted. Buyers came and admired the breathtaking scenery, then quietly disappeared. Some said the ranch was simply too remote. Others believed the silence itself felt unsettling, as if the land carried the emotional weight of every celebrity who once retreated there trying to escape fame, pressure, and exhaustion. The overgrown paths, locked cabins, and empty lakefront now give the ranch an almost mythical atmosphere. It no longer feels like a celebrity getaway. It feels like a forgotten sanctuary where stories were buried instead of shared. Number 7. Nellie, the mansion that fell into legend. At the edge of Wildwood, Missouri, hidden behind iron gates and overgrown trees, stands a mansion that was once supposed to symbolize success. When Nellie rose from the streets of St. Louis to become one of the biggest rappers in America, this enormous Tuscan-style estate looked like proof that he had finally made it. Grand archways, elegant stone walls, massive empty halls, every inch of the property was designed to scream wealth, status, and power. But strangely, the dream never fully came alive. Years passed, and the mansion remained unfinished, silent, almost forgotten. Dust settled where parties were supposed to happen. The luxurious rooms echoed with emptiness instead of music. Neighbors began whispering about the strange atmosphere surrounding the estate, as if the house itself had been abandoned in the middle of a dream. Potential buyers toured the property, but quietly disappeared, unwilling to commit to a place that somehow felt frozen in time. Then came the rumors that changed everything. In 2021, the mansion was reportedly sold to a mysterious religious organization, and suddenly, speculation exploded across the internet. Locals began telling stories about unusual activity behind the gates. Children dared each other to sneak close to the property at night. Some believed the mansion was cursed. Others thought it had simply absorbed too many years of loneliness and failed ambition. Number 8. Madonna, the palace too legendary to replace. Madonna's Hidden Hills mansion was never meant to be ordinary. From the moment you stepped inside, it felt less like a home and more like a monument built to celebrate an empire. Velvet-lined screening rooms, endless mirrored hallways, a ballroom designed for midnight rehearsals beneath glowing chandeliers. Outside, an enormous swimming pool shaped like the letter M shimmered beneath the California sun, while hidden luxury surrounded every corner. This was not just where Madonna lived, it was where she transformed herself into a global icon. But behind all the extravagance existed something unexpected: silence. Even during the peak of her fame, rumors claimed Madonna often wandered through the massive estate alone, searching for inspiration in rooms too large and too empty. Over time, the mansion became less of a sanctuary and more of a reflection of celebrity itself, beautiful, untouchable, and deeply isolating. The famous wine cellar holding thousands of bottles gathered dust. The private dance floor stopped glowing with energy. And despite its unbelievable luxury, buyers continued walking away. Maybe the reason was simple. Nobody wanted to live in Madonna's shadow. Because this mansion carries more than expensive furniture and glamorous history. It carries the weight of a woman who spent decades reinventing fame itself. To buy the estate would almost feel like stepping into a museum dedicated to power, ambition, and loneliness all at once. Number 9. Britney Spears, the princess trapped inside her own fairy tale. Britney Spears once lived inside the kind of fantasy millions of girls dream about. Deep in Louisiana stood her castle-like mansion, complete with towering windows, grand staircases, and gardens that looked pulled straight from a Disney movie. Far away in California, another luxurious estate waited behind private gates, glowing beneath the Hollywood sun. To the world, these homes represented the life Britney had earned: fame, beauty, freedom, and unimaginable success. But behind those walls, a different story was unfolding. One filled with pressure, control, and loneliness no amount of wealth could erase. As Britney's conservatorship battle exploded into public view, both mansions slowly fell into silence. The fountains dried up. Pools filled with forgotten toys and debris. Empty rooms echoed with memories of a woman who spent years fighting for ownership of her own life. Neighbors whispered about the strange stillness surrounding the properties, as if the homes themselves were waiting for someone who never truly got to live freely inside them. Potential buyers admired the luxury, but sensed something heavier lingering beneath the beauty. Because these mansions were never just homes. They became symbols of Britney's captivity, glamorous prisons hidden behind palm trees and marble gates. Today, the estates remain suspended between dream and tragedy, reminding the world that fame can sometimes steal the very freedom it promises. Number 10. Mel Gibson, the paradise nobody wanted. On the untouched coast of Costa Rica, Mel Gibson built what many believed was paradise on earth. 7 private villas hidden between dense rainforest and crystal blue ocean. Infinity pools reflecting the sunset. A secluded beach untouched by tourists. Even monkeys from a nearby sanctuary wandered close enough to hear. It was the kind of escape billionaires fantasize about, a secret kingdom where the chaos of Hollywood could never reach. Over time, the estate grew eerily quiet. Gates rusted beneath the tropical heat. Jungle vines crawled across abandoned guest houses. Locals began sharing stories of mysterious lights flickering through empty windows at night, as if the property itself refused to die quietly. Despite massive price reductions, buyers stayed away. Some blamed the staggering maintenance costs. Others felt something darker, the emotional shadow left behind by controversy, scandal, and a man who once stood at the top of Hollywood before watching his public image collapse. Today, the resort feels less like a luxury retreat and more like a forgotten Eden swallowed by time. The ocean still crashes against the shore. The pools still reflect the sky. But beneath the beauty lies a haunting truth: even paradise cannot protect people from themselves. If you heard footsteps upstairs in this mansion, would you investigate or suddenly remember you left the oven on? Number 11. Mike Tyson, the mansion of excess and collapse. Mike Tyson didn't build a home. He built a monument to power. Hidden in Ohio stood a massive estate overflowing with the wild confidence of a man who once ruled the boxing world. Gold-plated bathroom fixtures gleamed beneath enormous chandeliers. A giant swimming pool stretched across the property like a private resort. And most famously, exotic tiger cages stood as symbols of Tyson's larger-than-life personality: dangerous, unpredictable, impossible to ignore. At the height of his fame, the mansion represented invincibility. Tyson was feared, admired, and unbelievably wealthy. But just like inside the boxing ring, fortunes can change with one devastating hit. As financial troubles and personal struggles consumed him, the estate began falling apart in shocking fashion. Trees cracked through abandoned tennis courts. The once sparkling pool turned into a murky green swamp. Silence replaced the roar of parties and celebration. Buyers avoided the mansion despite enormous price cuts, almost as if the property itself carried the scars of Tyson's downfall. Number 12. Liza Minnelli, the mansion frozen in Hollywood's golden age. Hidden in the old hills of Hollywood stands a mansion that feels less like a home and more like a fading memory trapped in time. This was the childhood estate of Liza Minnelli, daughter of legendary filmmaker Vincente Minnelli, a place once overflowing with glamour music and the dazzling energy of Hollywood's golden era. Behind its gates, movie stars gathered beneath glowing chandeliers, jazz drifted through elegant halls, and a young Liza grew up surrounded by fame most people could only dream about. After Vincente Minnelli's death, the mansion became tangled in years of legal conflict and emotional distance. The estate slowly decayed while ownership disputes kept it trapped in limbo. Curtains faded beneath the California sun. Wallpaper peeled from the walls like old theater makeup. Grand pianos sat untouched beneath layers of dust. Urban explorers who later entered the abandoned property described something almost surreal: film reels scattered across empty rooms, shattered windows letting in cold wind, and the strange feeling that the house itself refused to let go of its past. Neighbors began sharing stories about hearing faint jazz music echoing late at night, as if the mansion still remembered the parties that once made it legendary. Some even claimed Liza herself avoided driving near the property, unable to face the emotional ghosts hidden inside. Number 13. Boris Becker, the mansion that collapsed with a champion. Under the bright Spanish sun, Boris Becker once built a luxury estate designed to reflect victory itself. The tennis legend transformed the property into a private kingdom, complete with tennis courts, basketball facilities, stables, guest houses, and rooms filled with priceless Wimbledon memorabilia. Every detail celebrated the life of a man who had conquered the world before most people even finished college. To fans, the mansion looked like the perfect reward for greatness. But behind the gates, another match was quietly being lost. As financial problems and legal troubles began surrounding Becker's life, the estate slowly transformed from a paradise into a burden. Lawsuits piled up. Construction disputes exploded. Workers reportedly went unpaid. The same mansion that once symbolized triumph became chained to debt scandal and public humiliation. Eventually, Becker's financial empire collapsed completely, and the property was abandoned to decay beneath the Mediterranean sky. Now the estate feels eerily empty. Wild grass grows across the courts where Becker once practiced his legendary serve. The massive swimming pool sits dark and stagnant, no longer reflecting celebration but silence. Vandals and trespassers roam through forgotten rooms, while locals whisper about mysterious lights appearing at night before vanishing by morning. Number 14. Johnny Depp. The village where Johnny Depp tried to escape the world. Long before his legal battles dominated headlines, Johnny Depp quietly built something few Hollywood stars would ever dare attempt: an entire abandoned village hidden in the south of France. Far from red carpets and flashing cameras, Depp purchased a forgotten 19th century hamlet and transformed it into a surreal private kingdom. Stone cottages lined silent pathways, An old church became an art studio. A tiny restaurant, a hidden wine cellar, and rustic guest homes turned the village into a dream frozen somewhere between fantasy and isolation. To outsiders, it looked magical. To Depp, it may have been the only place where he could finally disappear. As Depp's personal life spiraled into public controversy, the village slowly emptied. The laughter vanished from the courtyards. Dust settled across antique furniture. Nature crept back through the narrow stone streets, as if reclaiming the fantasy he once tried so desperately to build. Despite the breathtaking beauty of the property, buyers hesitated. Some were intimidated by the enormous restoration costs. Others sensed something heavier lingering there, the emotional wreckage of a man who spent years battling fame, heartbreak, addiction rumors, and one of Hollywood's most public downfalls. Locals began describing the estate almost like a ghost town, beautiful, untouched, but strangely sad. A place built for peace that never truly found it. And perhaps that is what makes Depp's hidden village so haunting. Unlike a mansion designed to impress the world, this was a place built to escape it entirely. Yet even in the quiet hills of France, the noise of celebrity eventually found its way in. Number 15. Tommy Lee, the rock star mansion nobody could live in. High above the canyons of Calabasas, Tommy Lee built a mansion that looked like something torn straight from a rock star fantasy. Glass walls reflecting the California sun. An indoor waterfall crashing through the center of the home. Massive open spaces designed for parties that could last until sunrise. Every inch of the estate radiated chaos, freedom, and excess, the same wild energy that made Tommy Lee one of the most infamous rock legends in America. As the mansion grew quieter, strange stories began spreading through Hollywood. Tommy Lee's wife publicly admitted she felt uncomfortable inside the home, describing eerie experiences that sounded less like celebrity gossip and more like a horror movie. Lights flickered for no reason. Doors creaked open in the middle of the night. Footsteps echoed through empty hallways when nobody else was there. Soon the mansion's glamorous image was overshadowed by whispers that the house itself might be haunted. Potential buyers arrived excited only to leave unsettled. Even after millions were shaved off the asking price, the property remained trapped in limbo, abandoned and unwanted. The once flowing waterfall dried up. Dust settled across rooms built for music and celebration. And slowly, the mansion transformed into something deeply symbolic, proof that fame and luxury cannot silence the darkness people carry with them. If you like this video, comment 1. If you don't like it, comment 0. Don't worry, I can handle it. Number 16. Mohammed Hadid, the mansion destroyed by ambition. In the hills of Bel Air, where billionaires compete to build the impossible, Mohammed Hadid dreamed bigger than almost anyone else in Hollywood. The father of supermodels Gigi and Bella Hadid envisioned a futuristic mega mansion unlike anything Los Angeles had ever seen, a sprawling palace of glass walls, infinity pools, and panoramic views stretching across the city. It was supposed to become a symbol of ultimate success. Instead, it became one of the most infamous construction disasters in celebrity real estate history. What began as a legal 14,000 square foot project quickly spiraled out of control. The mansion expanded massively beyond approved limits, transforming into a monstrous structure neighbors mockingly called the Starship Enterprise. Lawsuits exploded. Residents feared the unstable structure could literally collapse onto nearby homes. The city eventually revoked permits and shut the entire project down, leaving behind a half-finished giant exposed to wind, rain, and public humiliation. But the real tragedy wasn't just the abandoned mansion. It was what the property came to represent: endless ambition with no boundaries. In Hollywood, bigger is often treated as better until the dream becomes so massive it destroys itself. Number 17. Steve Jobs, the mansion caught between history and progress. Before it was demolished forever, the historic Jackling House in California stood at the center of one of Silicon Valley's strangest battles. The massive Spanish-style mansion, once filled with elegance and old-world beauty, had become an obsession for Steve Jobs. To preservationists, the house was a historic masterpiece worth saving. But to Jobs, it represented something else entirely, the past standing in the way of the future. For years, the mansion sat abandoned while legal wars dragged on behind the scenes. Dust covered its once grand halls. Marble bathrooms slowly decayed. Sunlight slipped through broken windows into empty rooms no one visited anymore. Yet despite the neglect, the house refused to disappear quietly. Historians fought desperately to protect it, believing the estate carried an irreplaceable piece of California history. Meanwhile, Jobs remained determined to tear it down and build something modern in its place. The conflict became symbolic of a much larger question: how much of the past should be sacrificed for innovation? Eventually, after years of lawsuits and controversy, the mansion was demolished during the final chapter of Steve Jobs' life. But even after the walls came down, the story refused to die. People who visited the abandoned property before its destruction described an eerie atmosphere, as if the mansion itself understood it was being erased from history.